Welcome back to Slam Shenanigans. We're loaded up for a new job here. Typical contractor's rear seat here. You can't use it at all. It's got tools and levels and everything in it. Here's on site just before we unload. And unloading, as you can see, it's a pretty busy street. We're way up in the mountains, but this street, as you see the video go on, has a lot of traffic on it, and they also had some annual ditch maintenance. A lot of our water is distributed via ditch, and so there's a lot of construction going on. Here's the site, though, basically. So what we're looking at here mainly is the back of the house here is sloped towards the house. So all the water goes right towards the house. There's no controlling it to get it away from the house as it should be. The other part of it there's a fire ring right behind the skid steer that we're going to have redone. Here's the yard that we're going to try and level out and expand a bit. So I'm working with a landscaping company. I'm kind of a sub to them. There's a bunch of stumps that we had to either remove or grind, and you'll see that a little bit later on. Here's looking towards the house. The backyard is where it's sloped wrong is beyond the skid steer there. So here we're starting. The first thing we got to do is get stuff out of the way. So I kind of grabbed some branches. There's a bunch of trees that are dead up there on top of the hill that the client would like removed. And here I'm trying to use the grapple bucket to get rid of the natural stone fire pit that was there. It's going to be replaced with a very nice block fire pit and utilize those stones. So I'm trying to save those for the client. And then there's a bunch of stones here in this area that are pretty large that we're going to try and save. So as the video goes on, you'll see me either going high up on the bank with the equipment or by myself with rocks. We're trying to save those rocks for the client. Here, I think I'm pushing over the stumps. There's probably 6 or 7 of them that we took out. 2 or 3 I just disintegrated. And here we got the landscape crew coming in, looking at what stumps to get rid of. And I'm trying to help them prioritize based on what I need to do back here. Ended up bringing 3 different implements for the skid steer: the forks, the bucket, and the grapple there. There's some firewood on pallets behind that tree. If you can see in the middle there that I had to move out of the way, there's a stump grinder coming in, so I'm working around them. Kind of switching the camera around here. You can see the slope of the behind the house, and I was trying to grab some of those logs and decided I didn't want to do it with skid steer because it was kind of tearing up the hillside pretty good, and then I would have to try to smooth all that out. So I put that off for next phase. So there's going to be about 3 phases in this job. Here I'm starting to actually move some dirt. So this is where we're going to take probably 3 to 4 feet, about 20 foot back from the house out, and spread it out on the yard there and make things more level. This is where the drainage should go, where it was going straight to the house. So that's my long-term plan. So phase 2 or 3, I'll end up with the excavator back in here, actually putting a nice little swale in there. So this first phase is really for the landscape company. It is to get general cleanup on the property. And for me, it is to get the slope corrected behind the house and the yard expanded and leveled and help with stump removal. And then also clean up, you'll see at the end of the video, since my equipment was here, I helped the landscape company load all their slash and stuff. And you can see there, I got those rocks out and kind of saving those for the client, just kind of leveling the yard. There's quite a bit of dirt there, and it was funny because the client was not expecting this much needed to be done, so she didn't really have a grasp of how much was needed to actually correct this and get this slope away from the house. So like I said, phase 1 is to get this back area corrected. Here's kind of mid-project, if you will. The majority of it's hogged out, and then you'll see me kind of cleaning it up and fine sculpting it as best I can with the skid steer. I don't really have any angle or slope control on that. You just kind of got to work your digging and where you're putting your tracks to make sure that you got the slope in there. And then you'll see me, I got the transit set up there. I don't know if you can see it in the shadows by the trees, but right about there. So I think I'm looking at, grab the transit, checking grade, making sure that I got fall away from the house and how much more I got to dig out. And also keeping in mind that I got to slope it from that back corner out towards the screen, if you will, where I drew that line before. So that's some landscape folks on the side there. So we're getting a little closer to where it needs to be. And then eventually I'll go into kind of cleaning up the the slopes there, and you can see my forks and my grapple are sitting up there on that ledge, and the more I take, the harder it's going to be to grab those. So pretty soon here I'll be getting those and relocating them out of the way right there. So hook the forks up, grab the grapple, get those off of there before it's too late. And now I'm trimming up the slope there, making sure it's no more than 3 to 1 so that there's natural slope and I don't have to put any retaining walls back here, which phase 2 and 3 will have retaining walls on other areas of the property, but I'm trying to do this all natural. So just a lot of work getting that dirt out of there and fine tuning that as best I can with the skid steer. Here you can see I'm cleaning up the edges of that slope there and just kind of getting the dirt out and getting her level, not level, but sloped away from the house. Making it clean, hogging out a little bit here right in the beginning of by the camera. This was a fun little project. It was a long day in the end, just because I had more than the dirt work. Like I said, I had a couple hours of load out and then an additional time at the end of the day with load out. So there's kind of the end there. This is where I had to park on the street, and as you saw earlier, there's a lot of traffic. Here's how the yard kind of ended up. So now she's got some nice semi-flat sloped away from the house yard. This is where the ditch is going to come out of the back. Again, I'm just kind of always constantly checking grade, make sure that I am doing what I need to do, and it's going to end up as a good product for her. Now we come back in and just doing some final cleanup. I think this is where I'm actually trying to slick it off so that when she's walking around, because we don't know when phase 2 or 3 is, since I made this video, we're actually moving that up quite a bit faster in the calendar. The client has, she hosts some Boy Scouts, which is fantastic. And coming up in a couple weeks there, they want that fire ring done. So we got to coordinate between the landscape company and me when we come back for phase 2. Phase 2 will be to the right of where my skid steer is now, pulling all those trees down, getting them out of the way so she doesn't have an eyesore. Landscape company will get the fire pit in, and then I will have my excavator on site to help with some retaining walls around trees and the fire pit itself, and finish this ditch swale, which will route the water from the back side of the house there to the right of the screen, along the edge of the hillside, and down into a natural drainage. So again, this will all this work's really going to beautify our property, but it's also going to protect her property, because you don't want water running into the house. That is just not a good situation. I think everybody knows why. Get that water under the house, and then you get mold and all sorts of nasty things. So here I'm picking rocks, and this is the reason that I was kind of surprised how sore I was at the end of the day. And the next day, there was a lot of in and out picking up rocks, because when you're trying to slick this thing off with the bucket, back dragging it, if there's a 4 or 6 inch boulder in there, it just makes a big trench. So I kind of hand picked a lot of these out. If they're large, I could do it with a skid. But so here's towards the end of the day, I'd switch to the grapple. Landscape company's getting their trailer backed in front of mine, and you'll see a lot of traffic going by, cement trucks. Like I said, a lot of the water is distributed to houses via a ditch from the lakes, and that's what they're doing. They're doing maintenance on the ditches, so they reform and repour a lot. So you'll see cars, you'll see cement trucks, all while we're trying to load all this slash and logs out. There goes a cement truck. Tons of personal cars. I couldn't believe it. This was a Friday. Just a bunch of traffic up here because we're way up in the mountains. But yeah, since I was subbing to this company, I helped them load out because, they're paying for me basically. And I can load 10 times faster than the crew can by hand. Even though it's a good-sized crew and a lot of work gets done fast, it's like just machinery. There's no substitute. So I'm loading up. That first load was full too. It's kind of hard to see in time lapse, but there was anything from, berry bushes up to 2-inch, trees, brush that they cut down, up to like 18-inch rounds that were anywhere from 4 to 10 feet long that we stuck in the trailer there. But got most of that cleaned up. Now the guys are, I think you can see by the dust, they're starting to do the cleanup of the road a bit. We did this several times. More traffic. More traffic. God, there was a lot of traffic. It's really funny watching the video now. But, oh, and then here's a loadout, so no job gets unpunished, right? Got snagged on a cotter key on one of the binders, but here's kind of the finished product for phase one. Yard is much more leveled, stumps are gone, sloped away from the house, of course. Here is looking up the ditch, so that's going to be fine sculpted with the excavator in phase two. Looking towards the back of the house and showing the ditch again. Here's, like I said, we took out probably 4+ feet in the back there, all sloped away from the house and ready for a swale ditch to be put in there. Here's from the other side of the house looking back towards the corner. The client was very, very happy. She was really fun to work with because she was excited about it. So here's back in my yard. Got the skid steer back in here. And no rest for the wicked. I took it off and loaded up the Maniacs for the next job, not this one. But and here's a shot of our dogwood and full bloom. That was that day. Here's the next morning. So this is what we call a dogwood winter. So the farmers basically use the dogwoods once they bloom. That's when they can plant up here in the mountains. And this is what we call a dogwood winter, where the dogwoods have bloomed and we get snow. Anyways, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button if you did. Share it with your friends. Tell them about this channel. And let's get it to grow. Thanks.